Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another podcast of our podcast, the GorillaCo cast, where today we have a special guest, and it's I guess I say the punchline. It's
Go.
Hey Google, who is the best brand coaches designer expert in the entire world? Simao Lagoa.
Your phone's in flight mode, so I can't help you with that at the moment.
every time. This can't get rid of her. Every time when I try to do this, put on flight mode, it still comes out. Simao Lagoa.
Yes.
Simao Lagoa,
Yeah.
the best coaches brand designer in the world. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Nick. It's a pleasure and so far a lot of fun already
Dude,
to be here today.
I need to apologize. I've changed times on you so many times.
That's all right. That's all right.
But you're very accommodating to my recklessness. So thank
Rolling
you.
with the punches.
Dude, thanks for coming, man.
You're welcome.
Are you enjoying the studio?
I am, and it had been a while since I wanted to connect with you and have a sit down like this today. Just not recorded, but I'm glad we're recording it.
Yeah,
And
me too.
you know, like people like-minded attract like-minded. So we've met and crossed a couple of times at business authorities, and there were a few people that I really wanted to have the opportunity to sit down with, and here we are today.
Yeah, dude, I'm glad we did this.
Yeah, likewise.
So we met at the business authorities event.
Yep.
And for those that don't know, that's a like a convention sort of just really nice business owners. So there's no tolerance for bad business people.
No.
Anyone that tries to screw anyone over, like there's no place for them in this spot, and that's nice because we all get to connect on a much deeper level.
Correct.
Yeah, and I think that's really nice. I think that's a really nice concept.
Yes. I think Johan did really a fantastic job of getting the community together.
Yeah.
And activating it. Just making sure we were in the same room, created opportunities for synergies.
Yeah.
And look at this, here we are.
Nice. So that was my first business networking meeting, the first one where they held the big. Yeah. So that was my first one. I'm like, oh my god, so many people. What's going on? I had no idea what to expect, but it was nice.
Yeah. I think networking has been one of the biggest and most useful tools for myself. Being creative, sometimes we get a little bit introverted, and we tend to stay behind the screen, behind the scenes, and help everybody else look great in front of the camera or the mic or whatever.
Yeah.
And then we forget to handle our own appearance.
Yeah.
And networking has definitely been, over the last 2 years, the most effective tools for coming out, meeting people, and establishing connections like this one.
Yeah. Well, we were just talking before we started this that as creatives, we might be the best creatives, in town, but when it comes to business side of things, like we're the worst, like we're crap.
Oh boy.
And it's nice, but I think the good thing is that we acknowledge that.
Oh yeah.
Right, because then we know our weaknesses, so you can work on your weaknesses.
Yes. Well, with the creative community, I find that it takes a while for people to gain that awareness, and because you probably have done it, I've done it, and this is why I am the coach's brand designer, because I'm a product of that environment. I'm a product of the product. So I gained awareness of myself and realized, okay, I need to up my game in these areas, and that's how I realized that business was a development area. Going out and being more proactive and being more person, more physical. Yeah.
So I spent most of my 20s as an electrical engineer, and then I moved over to business.
Yeah.
Right, where I never had business experience. I remember we did one class at uni that was business because they thought we're all too dumb. Engineers are too dumb to understand business, so they forced us to do one business class, which I'm kind of thankful for. But I don't think I learned anything.
Yes.
Because like when you at uni, you it's not the same as real world. Like you learn all the technical stuff.
Correct.
Right, which is cool. But then the real world is just a complete different monster, isn't it?
And add to that monster when you decide to get up one level. So you stop being the very professional, very proficient technician, and you put yourself at the head of a business, then that's another level altogether.
Yeah. Yeah. It's but I'm glad for me personally, I'm glad I'm learning the business side of things. And also my team, they're so good that if I do anything creative, that they have to go and fix all my mistakes. So I said, no, okay, I'm stepping back. I don't want to do this anymore. I just want to,
Empower you.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I just want to be the business guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I like connecting with people. I think that's my strength.
Mm, mm.
And our beautiful tech person over there, she pushed me into that as well. She's the one that told me not to buy an expensive computer. I was like, but why?
It's gonna drag you in again.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So I wanted to ask you about when we decided to do this. I asked you if you had any fail stories,
Oh boy.
and you were the first one to jump on it. You're like, "Yep, I can do that."
Yeah, yeah.
2 weeks later, we're here.
I do have a few.
Actually, before we do that, let's talk a little bit more about what your business is all about, because I think people want to get to know you a little more.
Okay,
So tell me, how did you start?
Mm-hmm. In a nutshell, I started the usual route, 9 to 5, working for somebody as a graphic designer. I earned my stripes in that field, and at some point, I realized that I was not really fulfilled or happy with being just a graphic designer in the south part of Portugal, which is a beautiful part if you're having vacation, holidays, if you're hanging out with friends. But professionally speaking, I started noticing that I wanted more for myself. And that also matched with the time that I started doing a lot of personal development, which opened up my eyes to the fact that I needed to get out of my hometown and spread my wings. And here comes the first fail.
Straight into it, perfect.
But that's the beginnings. I got out of uni, had a really interesting experience, which was the first one that actually gave me a glimpse into the importance of opening your wings, being connectful with people, being intentional about connecting with people. I was put in an environment with hundreds of people selected all over the world to work in a Lisbon World Exposition in '98.
Wow.
And at that time, where I was as a person was I didn't want to leave my little cocoon. I was very comfortable doing my little things. And then I met all these people. And that year I started traveling. It was the first year that I got in a plane, went to different parts of Europe.
How old were you at this time?
I was 22.
Oh, wow. Young.
22. 1 year after I finished uni, I was very frustrated because I was doing nothing at home, at my mom's home on top of that. And we both realized I needed a change of scenery to jolt something to change, something to happen. And it definitely did that.
Yeah.
That was within that experience itself lasted about 5 weeks. I came back from it, and within 2 weeks, I found my first job.
Really?
Yeah.
Where was the first place you went to?
The first job was the first web design company in Faro, Algarve, Portugal, which was really interesting.
In '98.
In '98.
Wow.
Yes. Internet was still a thing that most people didn't even were aware that it existed. So that was interesting. I stayed there for about 2 or 3 years, went into another advertising company that needed a designer. And that's the beginnings of graphic design for me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Fast forward a few years then, I worked in a number of places. I got to teach in uni. That was amazing.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
That was really cool because I went from being a student. I was a model as well. And then I got to be a teacher all at the same uni, at the same course with some of the same people.
Really?
Which was a very interesting experience. And
What kind of model?
Just nude model with
Nude model.
Yep.
Lovely.
with jocks. With jocks. I was not an all-out model.
Lovely.
Funny, very funny. Yes.
Do you still do that?
No,
No.
not anymore.
Okay.
What a shame. So, graphic design got
Maybe
me.
we can hey Google that as well. No, that's not.
Maybe not.
It's coming up. Sorry.
That's all
Sorry,
right. That's all right.
Let's cancel that.
Your phone's in flight mode, so I can't
That's
help you
why
with that at
for
the
this
moment.
conversation I had to put it on flight mode.
Yes. And by the time that I decided that I needed to up my game in professional and in personal, I took a couple of jobs to gather up the financials to make it happen. And it was funny because I did everything from freelancing on the side on top of the business that I was working with, a print house, and I did security bouncing at a disco, and I did what I had to do. And one day at the print house that I was working at, a mistake came up and we were under the pump. It was a last minute job, and the owner got aggravated.
Pissed
and he
off.
looked at me and, "What did you do?" He goes, "You're fired, go home," blah blah blah. This was a massive fail.
Oh, no.
Because one, it was not my fail, it was not my mistake, but little did I know that being fired that day actually contributed to me really putting all my efforts and focusing on getting out of Portugal, which was
What was the mistake?
oh, some plates got wrongly printed, wrongly done. And mind you, I had done a fair amount of mistakes myself,
Really?
which was why he looked at me by default. But interestingly enough, I held my ground and I said, I did not do this. And it ended up being...
Not this time.
not this time. And it ended up being an interesting discussion with him afterwards, after he cooled down. And we remained in good condition, but it did jolt me to, okay, you've hit the ceiling. This is as good as it's gonna get in this area of Portugal. So you might as well dream big, or go home. And I decided to do the dream.
So you decided to leave Portugal.
Yep.
And you came to Australia first?
No.
Where did you go?
So for the next 6 or 8 months or whatever I focused on creating my portfolio. Created my website, and still did bouncing on weekends and grabbed whatever jobs I could to keep myself afloat. It just so happened that after a very active period of searching internationally, I got a phone call from a company that was opening in Barcelona. Okay. And little did I know that this company was a worldwide tech giant.
Okay.
Everybody knows Vistaprint.
Yeah.
So Vistaprint gave me a call.
Oh, we just spoke about Vistaprint.
Oh, really? That is
I know,
funny.
isn't it?
Yeah, law of attraction. That's how you
That
Very
is pretty weird,
synchronistic.
isn't it? We've never mentioned Vistaprint before. And now we've mentioned it like 12 times.
Wow.
So you're welcome, Vistaprint, for the SEO juice you're getting. All right.
it's gonna be popping up in our
Everywhere.
mobiles tomorrow now.
Yeah.
So yeah, Vistaprint gave me a call, and I started the recruiting process with them. It took about a month. They flew me in for in-person interview after a couple of early rounds. After I
They flew you in.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that feels good.
Man,
When a company flies you in, it just, you feel like a superstar.
I felt like, what the hell is happening? I'm struggling to get a scrap job here. And here these guys show up, bring me in, fly me in, put me in a fancy hotel in Barcelona. That's the top of my experience as a graphic designer.
Yeah.
At the time, that was like, okay,
Vistaprint was your sugar daddy for that day.
just blew me away with all the pampering they did.
Yeah.
They flew me in for 3 days. I was interviewed. We did well, and later on they had me in for another test of the city, and I was allowed to bring somebody else.
Oh, really?
So that was like just opening my mind like nothing else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it shows why they're a worldwide company.
Man,
Right?
it really does. Like
They
big
treat-
players, they don't waste time.
Yeah.
They don't fuss around.
Exactly.
Once they know you're a
Yeah.
match professionally, that's just
Yeah.
the default. They're gonna go into the personal side of things. Are you a cultural fit? Are you going to be able to
Yeah, that's
handle
important.
with working with people from all over the place?
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, that had been my whole manifestation process for the last 3 to 6 months. I had created my vision board. I said exactly what I wanted. I wanted to work with people from all over the world,
Yeah.
fly around, have the possibility to meet other countries,
Yeah.
make X amount per month. And it was to the dot.
Really?
Everything unfolded
Really?
to the freaking dot. Like,
Wow.
seriously.
Wow.
So that was my first big jump out of
Yeah.
Portugal. And that adventure lasted for about 5.5 years.
Wow. You know, it's this vision board thing that everyone talks about. It's so on point. Like I was flicking through some documents at the house, and I came across one of my I came across my partner, not one of my partner's vision thing. She
Yes.
wrote something. She just wrote some stuff down,
Yes.
and I'm like, hold on, this is our life. Everything that was written down there is our life.
Mm.
And I'm like, what the hell's going on? I'm like, hold on a minute. Am I in a dream or something?
Yes. It's really.
And I've never done a vision board, so I don't know but from what people have told me, like I should
boy.
probably get onto it.
I stutter because I just have so many little things that I achieved by being very intentional about how
Really?
I went about it.
Yeah.
I created the vision board. I created the manifestation routines, the discipline of doing it every day, so many times a day, being extremely specific.
Yeah.
And I'll give you another fail. I just remembered. I'm gonna take a quick note.
Please.
Um,
I love that I love that that we talk about being very specific about your goals.
yes,
Like that's so important.
it is absolutely crucial,
Yeah.
critical.
And I remember
absolutely.
when I started GorillaCo, like one of the things was that I wanted a podcasting room, and I just realized now that we've got it. This is it, and it's nice. But I also important as well is that to reflect back on the things that you did write down.
It is.
You know, because if you don't, you forget. And like I forgot about this.
It is.
But this was actually something I wrote down.
Absolutely amazing, and I'm sure you felt it when you realized how intention actually produces the life that you find yourself in after you manifest it in. If
Isn't
that
it?
makes
It's
sense.
just so crazy. It makes me think like life is not what you think it is.
No.
Life is not what you think it is, man.
When you become aware of your power,
I know.
it takes on a whole new meaning. You're playing a different game altogether. And for me, the constant reminders these days, they even come through Facebook. 2 days ago, I had a Facebook reminder of how 4 years ago, me and my wife are all dressed up in this ship along Docklands, manifesting we want to live there. This is by the time they're building the townhouses, I remind you. The promenade, the windy, beautiful promenade, we're navigating through and we're saying to each other, we want to live there. Guess where I lived for the last 3 years?
Docklands.
Along the promenade in Docklands.
Lovely.
My goodness.
So that's where the world's best coaches brand designer lives. That's where they all live. All right.
We'll edit this out.
If you're looking for a brand designer and you're a coach, just have a stroll down Docklands. You'll find
me
the best
walking
one.
my dog with my wife in the morning and late afternoon.
What kind of dog do you have?
Kish is a schnauzer. Mini schnauzer.
Oh, that's cute, man. And what's the dog's name?
Keisha.
Quiche, like the food.
No, Keisha with I.
Oh.
Which means, by the way, great joy, which is what she gives us.
Oh, that's lovely. That's lovely.
Yes.
Has she ever ripped up the couch or anything? And they're
Only
like,
every day. We get home, and we have chaos waiting for us.
but you love her, and that's the important.
Yes,
They
we do.
can't do any wrong.
We do.
We don't have a dog yet, but I want one. But then I don't want one because dogs are it's heartbreaking. Like you build this bond with this animal that loves you unconditionally.
Yep.
And then they die.
Okay, I'm gonna take a note of that because this ties in with the second fail I wanted to tell you about.
Did you kill anyone?
No.
Okay,
no,
good.
No. We'll get there.
We can continue the podcast.
So yeah, that was because when I saw your post, for everybody watching this, we're here because Nick put a post up asking for people to share their fails.
That's
and
right.
I put my hand up and jumped right in. And that was the fail that I wanted to share with the world. How being fired for something that I did not do in my job got me to actually spread my wings and become one of the best-selling designers at the top design and print company of the world.
Wow.
That's
just massive.
Yeah, it was really, really good.
You need a plaque for that. You need like something like big that says, I was this, I did this.
Yeah.
A reminder.
It was really interesting because with the whole process of manifesting, I said to myself, I want to prove my worth. I want to test my mettle. I want to be among the best. And even though Vistaprint is not seen in any way, shape, or form as a strong design presence in the design world, you have to give them credit because they look after masses of people's needs.
Yeah.
We're talking about dozens and dozens of millions of clients around the world.
Mm-hmm.
And something that I learned working for them was the importance of designing at scale. That was really one of the biggest things.
Mm.
And while I was there, I wanted to stand out. I wanted to really make my statement and prove one to myself again, because I was not fully aware of the power that I held as a graphic designer, as a visionary, to interpret people's visions, which is today my whole slogan, and create something that would appeal to the masses, which I was able to do. And that was what got me the best-selling sort of title around that.
Yeah.
I became a bestseller in a number of campaigns. 3 months into getting into the company, I was assigned to this project. And this project was based on my personal likings.
Okay.
I had been thinking about this. This goes back to 2007. I had been thinking about creating a t-shirt company or a t-shirt line of some sort. And I shared this with my colleagues and my creative director. So they assigned me to a launch of t-shirts in Europe. Vistaprint had t-shirts all over the world, but they hadn't launched in Europe. That was why their whole setup in Barcelona was happening. They were coming into Europe. They're starting to speak to the local countries, so France, Spain, Germany, whatnot, because they had a really strong presence in the States. Everybody knows that. But when they came to Europe, they started around 2006-07. That's when they created a core team of designers. There were 6 of us. And I was part of that team that helped shape the future of the company for Europe. So anyway, back to the project. They assigned me to that project, launch of t-shirts. And one day I get a tap on my shoulder from none other than the marketing director.
Wow.
And I said to myself, this is going to be an either make or break moment or a oh moment.
Oh shit.
Oh shit moment. Yeah. It was the first. It was the
Yeah.
first. And he basically told me that the test they run with my creatives were 4 times as much as their projected revenues in a good day. So that got things rolling, and I became branded inside the company as the funny designer, the belly girl designer, only because the t-shirt launch campaign that I created for it included a girl with half the t-shirt off, showing her belly, and obviously emphasizing how 50% of the prices were off of the t-shirt.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
Very, very interesting
That's
launch.
brilliant. That's brilliant.
Yeah, that got things rolling.
Can
for
we
me.
see that design somewhere?
Absolutely. I shared it a couple of days ago on Facebook, but I'll be happy to share it with you.
Can you send that? Yeah, send it to us, and we'll put it in so people can see.
Note taken.
Please.
Done.
And if you're listening to this and the shirt didn't pop up, well, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry for you.
I'm not in I'm not in the creative side anymore, so you can't blame me.
All right. Yes. And okay, so back to how I got to Australia. Yes. So
By the way, that's really cool, man. Like that's that's really cool.
Thank you.
And what year was that?
2007. Yes.
Oh, that's cool.
That whole campaign launched that year and became the new control for the whole company. It became the top selling in Europe.
Really?
They rolled it out to the US.
Wow.
They tried switching the girl that I had with a blonde, with a brunette, with this, with that. But it was always a belly. There was always a nice looking lady. And for the next 4 years, it became the control. It was.
That's awesome.
And in the meantime, I kept creating other winning concepts. So I just became sort of known for being a really, really good selling designer.
Yeah.
And that whole thing just gave me encouragement, one, because being approved by 24 million customers at that time was a massive stamp of approval to my own confidence, obviously.
For sure.
And it just proved that I should have, and I belonged there. That's what my initial purpose was with the whole upgrading my life, was to know that I belonged among the best players in the field.
That's really cool.
So there you go, boys.
It's a nice feeling. It's a nice feeling to know that all your hard work has brought you up to the expert level.
Yes.
Like, even though you were an expert before,
it triggered by a fail of all things.
Yeah.
Like when you get a hit, instead of staying down and thinking, oh, I can't even get a job in the south of Portugal, actually jolted me to jump into the biggest stage of them all and do well there.
That's amazing.
And here we are today.
That's amazing.
We're at 2016.
Back on.
Yeah, we're back. All right. Yeah. So it's just it's nice to know that you've come up to that, you've risen up to that level. Ultimately, because I mean, in most companies, people don't praise you. They only put you down because they think putting someone down is the motivator they need. But it's so counterintuitive to think that praising someone, they're going to really like understand that you're valued and that your work is of expert level.
Absolutely.
Right. And so what's the difference between someone that thinks they're an expert and someone that isn't an expert? It's the belief in themselves.
Yes.
That no, I can do that. That's easy to do.
Yeah. And that was another thing that I took away from it. One, now that I've proved my mettle, now that I've upgraded, was to understand how the culture plays a huge factor in having winning teams, winning environments, results to back it all up. Because 6 of us, we could barely handle what was being fed by the marketing department, and yet we managed to not only handle it but grow it. And as we grew, we got better pay, we got bonuses every 3 months, we got outings with the company, we had inter-department celebrations, we had stock options given to us, we were spoiled basically. And that was a stark contrast with everything that 31 years of existing in Portugal had taught me up to that point. It was a complete mind shift. And when I told people in Portugal what was happening with me, nobody could believe it. Everybody was like,
what country were you in, by
Portugal.
the way? No, I mean with Vistaprint.
Barcelona, Spain.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yes, yeah.
Wow.
And that was really interesting because if you remember, 2007 in Europe was the peak of the crisis. And when I said, I'm going to leave, I'm going to look for an international company, people in Portugal were doubtful. Some friends of mine who knew me, I had a core circle of people around me who I shared this with, and they knew that it was possible. But I found out that when you have a lofty goal, you don't want to spread yourself too thin telling the wrong people about it. Because they will water it. They will piss on your parade. They will say that's not possible. Look at the crisis we're going through. How are you going to even think about flying over there, finding a place, blah, blah, blah. And here we go.
That's so true.
Yes.
That is so true.
I was literally feeling like I was inside this crystal ball where nothing could touch me. We're up on the 6th floor, beautiful view over the city, working for the best print and design company on the planet. And everybody thought that this was not possible. It's too late. I don't have the education. I don't know the right people. I'm too old. And these were beliefs that I carried. And it took a while to let them go. Again, coaching helped a lot with that.
Well, we're our biggest critic, right? Like, I mean, we it's easy for us to say we can't do that. Even like for sometimes I don't want to act on some goals that I have because I know to myself, I just tell myself, no, that's not going to happen. And sometimes I'm in the mindset where I'm like, yeah, this is like, clearly this is going to work. Like so clearly. And then I'll have a break. And then about an hour later, I'll be like, no.
Emotional state.
No, that's stupid. That's
emotional state just kicks in, right?
Exactly.
Default blueprints come back.
Exactly.
And you put yourself back in the place of where things do not look feasible. Right?
And that's
was that your case as well?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that's why it's so important to have a team. Because in that moment of inspiration, I'll put that forward to the team and they'll see that that is a winning method or something, right?
Yes.
Whether it's in marketing or business growth or whatever. Right. And then I leave it with them. If I can inspire them to believe in what I just said, right, they'll go off and they'll create magic. Right. Then I can go off and just doubt myself all I like because I've handed it over to the team that's going to make it happen. But that has been something that has helped the business grow.
Yes.
It's like removing my bullshit doubt
Wow.
from that moment of inspiration.
Big.
Yeah. And I go home to my partner and I tell her, I said, nah, it's not going to work. And she's like, okay, just shut up.
Yeah.
It is going to work.
Whole judgment.
Exactly.
But do you notice that energetically, once you do it, there's no turning back, and you've
Yeah.
already unleashed the gates of
Yeah.
abundance?
Yeah.
Because I do it still today,
Mm.
and I have to check myself on it.
Yeah.
And you just said something very important, because as long as you act on it, then it becomes somebody else's thing to do or
Mm.
to handle.
Yeah.
And your beliefs will kick in. That
Yeah.
You've got layers upon layers of experience,
Yeah.
and probably cemented by what your family believes, what you were brought up doing and seeing.
Yeah.
And that was it. Many layers of discovery there for myself.
Yeah. That's
Mhm.
nice.
Mm.
And just as on that, what I do with when I give the team something to do, we've implemented that for our clients. So now when a client comes on board, whether it's starting a business from zero,
Yeah.
right? Whether you've got no experience or anything, or you just want like one video done, or you want some graphics, or you want some like audio, whatever, right? The team, so the operations manager and customer support,
Yeah.
he's on the call with the customer that comes on. So we have an initial customer call.
Yep.
And then whoever is the expert that needs to be involved, they're on the call as well. So now we've got 2 or 3 people on that call to understand what the client wants. And sometimes the client doesn't know what they want. So the team now extracts it from them.
Yes.
Like, tell me these 3 things and
Yes.
we'll create something amazing.
Yes.
And that came from them taking my ideas and bringing them to fruition.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I trained them from my own my own things that needed to be done.
Yes.
And then I removed the doubt. So now the client doesn't have any doubt of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And they can see the possibility, because sometimes what the client wants is like it's stupid, right? Because they don't know any better.
Yeah, exactly.
Or sometimes it's the best thing that we've ever heard, and we're like, yeah, we do that exactly the same. But it's nice to have that brainstorming session.
Yes.
Because it stops the stupid doubt
Yeah.
from saying no, that's crap, or
Correct. I think hearing you, I was processing, and it goes back to vision. You have your vision, and the client has his vision.
yeah.
And during brainstorming processes, it's a mistake, or it's an issue if you keep shooting down ideas for the
Yes.
sake of practicality, for the sake
Yeah.
of realism, for the sake of keeping it within budget. Let's
Exactly.
talk about what we want, and then we'll see how we can get there.
Yeah, exactly. And then you start incorporating like budget. You start incorporating like other ideas.
Yep.
Or they'll say, I saw this. Can we do this? My team will be like, yeah, we can do it, but let's do it a little bit different, or whatever suits
Yep.
the company. Because all my years of marketing, like over 10 years in marketing, I noticed that like there's no 2 campaigns that are the same. Even if you're in the same industry, it'll be a completely different campaign. So people that say no, just do that, just do what they did, it might not necessarily work.
Yes.
And that's why I find that people that have like say 5 or 10 years experience, that have worked with many different companies and industries,
Yeah.
they're the ones that you should talk to first, because they've got data on like 10 years of data
There you
that
go.
they can put forward into your campaign.
Yeah.
So it's not just like everyone else is doing this Instagram thing, or everyone is doing this story or whatever.
Yep.
Let's do that because it's trending.
Yep.
It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work.
Correct.
But you go to a company that's got 10 years experience and has worked with many different people, right? They can just pick out and say, no, this worked for this because of this reason.
Yep.
Let's take that and incorporate with this idea,
Yeah.
right? And then we've got magic. And now we're making like,
That's a big part of it as well.
Yeah.
Incorporating analytics and data
mm,
to your decision-making process,
Yeah.
which was another thing that I found out that was so useful.
yeah. So I've got a friend that his dad owned a data and analytics company
Yeah.
for like 20 or 30 years. And he's now a marketer himself, but he told me that he didn't pay attention to what he worked in his dad's company, but he didn't really care what was happening and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, the wasted opportunity, man. You could have. I'm like, why did you waste that opportunity?
Yeah. Somebody made mistakes, or somebody studied these things.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
were in front of you. You're
Yeah.
not looking at them.
Yeah, exactly. And even he like face palms, like, I know, I should have paid more attention.
Well, my version of that is understanding that Vistaprint, as good as what they are for what they show to the world, they're even better at the level of marketing.
Mm.
They're truly a magnificent mechanism of marketing.
Yeah.
And that just flew right over my head at the time because
Yeah.
I was tied up to the graphic side of things, to the campaigns.
Mhm.
But once I realized that, what are these two floors of marketers doing?
Yeah.
Because they were specializing in
Yeah.
retention marketing and acquisition marketing and product
Yes.
marketing and analytics. And they had all these people who were top players of the world doing these things.
Mm.
And now everybody knows what a funnel is. But when that was brought up in company meetings 10 years ago, that
Yeah.
was like ricocheting my head,
Yeah.
like boom, boom, boom,
Yeah.
just going to the side because
Yeah.
I was not paying attention to that.
Yeah.
Had I learned more of that as well, I
Mm.
probably would have had a better marketing funnel for myself
Yeah.
when I decided to go into business.
Yeah, absolutely. So same as me, 10 years ago when I started,
Hmm.
I because I came from an engineering background, so we analyze things. We analyze all the things that can go wrong.
Yeah.
So you don't kill anyone, and you tenfold that, right? So you always make things 10 times more secure than they need to be, right? Because you just don't want to stuff up. Because for us as an electrical engineer, we design stuff, and then the electrician goes out and implements it. If one thing's wrong, he can kill himself. This is it with the live wires, right?
Absolutely.
So I took that approach in marketing, and I'm so glad that I did this. I bought this program of someone that showed you how to like run a company like an affiliate thing, like how to become an affiliate marketer, right? But instead of listening to what they were doing in that program, which was like videos and all this stuff, they were pretty good. I watched what they did, how they sold it themselves. So I didn't care what was in that video. And it was like $3,000 my first one. I was like, oh, that's a lot of money. But I bought it, and instead of really studying what they were selling in the program, I studied how they were selling that program.
Yeah.
Like how they were attracting people, how they would bring people to webinars, like how they would funnel you. I didn't know what a funnel was either.
There you go.
I realized
there you go.
that it's just steps. It's just
Yes.
steps from going from zero to paying.
Correct.
And I like that. And then the aftercare was also really important. So I'm
Yes.
glad I did that because I implemented that strategy. And most of the times in the first year or two, I had no idea. Like someone said, what's this? Like PPC. I'm like, what?
You're
What
not
is
even
this?
paying attention to it, much less incorporate it.
Exactly. But we were doing that stuff. So we were doing it, but I had no idea what it was called.
Yeah.
So I was like just going off the cuff, and I was learning for my own business as well as I was going along. And it was really, yeah.
Yep.
But it was a lot easier back then.
Mm-hmm.
Now you just need a lot more engagement with the people and.
Oh, the market's become very, very resistant,
Yeah.
and everybody knows a little bit more about everything because tech has enabled us to gain that awareness.
I find it makes it easier to sell because people are more aware of what they need.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas back then you throw out these words and like, sorry, are you speaking
understand.
English? I don't
Correct.
understand.
Yeah.
Which is nice now. It's kind of nice.
It's a contrast between having straighter lines to the final destination
Mhm.
and more resistance along that straight line.
Yeah,
Because everybody knows what video is, but there's so many options for video.
exactly.
Suppliers, products, tools,
Exactly.
same with design.
Mhm.
You have Canva, you have BigMonkey, you have all these things.
Yeah,
Why am I going to hire a designer?
exactly.
And you have to really hone in on why you're doing what you're doing.
Yep.
And how you can help instead of becoming another tool.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So a lot of people tell me that. A lot of people say like, why would I take your company to
Yeah.
do my videos when I can do them myself?
Bingo.
And I say like, that's cool. I like that you're taking charge of your own business. That's important, right? You
Mm.
want to see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times when they create these videos on their phones and stuff, like they like it. The person that created it love it because they created it. But I tell them, whatever you do, make sure that your audience loves it as much as you, because most of the time there's a big disconnect there, right?
Oh boy.
Even when I create stuff, like I love this. Like, why won't anyone else love this? But then I realized, no one else would love this.
I'm laughing because I keep harping on this exact thing.
Yeah.
And I'll give you two examples. One example is the exact same conversation converted to graphic design. Why would I hire you? I got Canva.
Yeah.
So I'll leave that one alone because it's not worth going there anymore.
Yeah.
You've unpacked that one. The second one is, I've lost my train of thought.
The other editing one.
Graphic design.
But I know what you're saying. Like it's like why would I hire someone to do it when when I can do it
Just
myself.
use
But
all these tools. Oh, the other one is we become enamored with our own stuff.
oh, absolutely,
And
absolutely.
we fall in love with this little piece of something that I created, and it looks so cute. And we show our family, and they love us. Then obviously, they're gonna love it.
Yeah.
But I'll give you that example of that campaign of the T-shirts. Right? I did 3 concepts for it. I spent 3.5 hours on the first concept. I put doves in. I put lighting effects. I put a perspective, a fake perspective depth into it. I spent 3.5 hours into it. The second concept, I put about an hour. And because I had 40 minutes up until review to show the team before we put it up in front of the marketing department, I created that belly girl concept in 35 minutes.
Yeah.
I jotted together like pump, black and white image.
Yeah.
It was the winning one.
Yeah.
My thought, my ego got in the way, and I thought I'm not even gonna do this third concept.
Yeah.
Because the one I love the most is the dove one, and that's gonna be the winning one. Okay, so here's for 24 million customers telling you your half an hour of investment was a better return than the 3.5 hours that you put in before. So that's a huge slap in my own face. That was when I realized I need to get out of my own way a lot more often.
Yeah, absolutely.
So test the audience because they're the final consumer. I totally support and am with you on that one.
I love that. It's so true. Like your product, what you created, like what you love, might be completely different to what your audience loves. But also on that, it's hard for a company that's just starting, and most of the time, the people that have issues with this are the ones that are doing it themselves. The ones that are doing it themselves are usually the ones that are just starting out or they have low budgets. Right? They want to make like $1 million on one product, right? That's their dream. Like I love that. I love that ambition though.
Yes.
Because they're the ones that it'll siphon off the ones that was just doing it just because they hated the boss that day, right? Compared to the ones that really want to make this product run. And I love that. I love that ambition.
Yes.
And I love that excitement that comes when we have a talk, like, and the whole team's there like, yeah, this is gonna work. That's gonna be good. That's not gonna work. That's gonna be. I love that, right?
Yeah.
But how does a company that's just started out that might only have say 10 customers, how do they test out to a small audience? Because it's the sample size is not big enough.
It's not relevant enough.
And that's always been a big issue. And if you don't have a budget to push this out to 1 million people, like you just have to really eat up that you don't have like what these 5 people might be telling you they like might not necessarily be what the audience like.
That's the biggest moving sands part of the business is when you have to adapt on the fly because you think you're going to set this and it's going to do its own growth and you have to adapt and you have to keep adapting. Now there's another variation in this whole thing and you have to consider that factor. So you've seen this pretty much every day as well. A lot of people on Facebook and business groups, they ask, how do you like this? And it's not validated by the right audience.
Exactly.
And I keep chipping in these posts because they lack validity. And that's something that I've learned throughout 22 years now. But obviously for somebody starting out, for somebody creating their own graphic and creating their own logo or creating their own video, they lack that perspective and the credibility or trust in an experienced voice is not necessarily there all the time. So it becomes a problem for them because they don't see the growth or the results that it could have had and they blame it on marketing not working, branding not working, video is not a great tool. But then it's back to what you said. You have to make sure you validate it appropriately.
I like something that really stuck with me last year when I heard. Do you know Tony Sambell?
No.
From Spicy Web?
I know Spicy Web.
Yeah. So he's the founder. He's an exceptional human being and really great web developer. Yeah. And his company is really awesome. But he mentioned, I love the keyword that he said, distraction metrics.
Write that down.
Write that one down. That's a great one. So Tony's company works on trying to remove distraction metrics, right, from their data for their clients. And like things like likes and views. They're distraction metrics. You might have 1 billion views and 1 billion shares or whatever, but if you don't make a sale, it's crap.
It doesn't matter. Well, there you go.
Mhm.
We should have started there because I just posted something last week to the same effect.
Yeah.
You can get 75 likes, 100 likes on your graphic, image, video piece of content, but it's not relevant because when you translate it into market conditions,
Yeah.
the market is going to have its say. They're going to be the last judge. And it's really
Yeah.
interesting. Distraction metrics is another word for what I had known up until now as vanity metrics. Exactly the same
yeah,
thing,
Yeah.
but still holds.
Yeah. Yeah. What makes you feel good
Yeah.
is not really what grows your bank account.
Yes, correct. Absolutely. I've seen Spicy Web a couple of times. They've popped up, and I've looked at them a couple of times. They seem to be a very sturdy and knowledgeable.
They've been around for 10 years, man. They're
There you go.
solid company.
Mm.
And they're in the Frankston area.
Mm.
They're in the Quest building.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know, in the biggest building in Frankston.
I don't.
Next time you drive by there,
Yep.
if you're in that area,
Yep.
just look for the biggest building in the area.
That's where they
He
are.
took me up to the rooftop. Oh my goodness! It's
The
like
views.
it's almost like they have an infinity pool, because for me,
Yeah.
for my height, I looked out and all I could see was just the ocean,
Yeah.
just the vast ocean, and I'm like, oh my god, this is beautiful. Like I want this. But Tony's one
Enticing.
of those guys that deserves all the success that he has. He's just hardworking and he's a good guy.
Mm.
He's a really good guy, and
Yes.
will always look out for you for your business as his own. So, yeah,
It's good you're telling me that because I might just come and
should connect with him,
yeah.
Tony. If you're listening, we've got someone to connect with you. Again. A bromance is going to brew.
Yeah.
And his staff are so good. His staff are
Well,
so
they
cool.
certainly look like they're capable.
Yeah.
From the data and analytics perspective of it to the marketing and the quality of work that I've
Yeah.
seen,
Yeah,
they stand up.
dude, I'm so glad you came by.
My pleasure.
I love it.
My pleasure.
So,
I was gonna tell you the other fail. If
Oh,
there
yes,
is
please.
time, is
absolutely, we got.
there? Are we
time.
good with time? Yes.
Awesome.
I think there's a few there.
Oh yeah, let's do it, man. I'm
So-
not trying to kick you out here. I'm just-
No. Okay. Great.
We got all day. If you like.
That was a warm up.
That was the warm up.
All right, let's get started, man. This,
Entree's done. Let the main dish come in. And this will be very interesting because it speaks and wraps up everything that we've been talking about, from intention to law of attraction to believing in what you do in a perfect way. And it's very timely because it even sprinkles some powders over the dogs and pets and whatnot. So it's today is the 10th of January.
Is it?
It's yes, because just a while ago I realized this has been my best January for the last 6 years since in business. So that was an interesting milestone that I registered for myself just before leaving the house and driving over. But
Congratulations.
thank you. And it's also almost a full year, 5 days short, of a little cycle that could be considered a fail. And by fail, I'll put a number of caveats. But a year ago, I had a motorcycle accident. I drive sports bikes, and those are one of my passions. And,
What bike do you have?
I did have a Suzuki GSXR 750,
That's a beautiful bike.
isn't it?
That's the perfect balance between torque and weight.
Oh, yes.
Oh my God.
Exactly.
I love
So
it.
I jumped on the bike one day after coming home from work. I told my wife, let's go train, but I need to go get a haircut real quick. So I jump on the bike and I'll meet you at the gym. We have a gym as a part of our amenities.
Mm-hmm.
I get on the bike, and 300 meters down the road, some guy crosses me, gets on the road on an intersection, doesn't even look. I hit the passenger door and literally flip over the car. I flip over the car and land on the other side into a squat.
Really?
Yes.
No. A squat.
A squat
Like
is.
a squat. Like a squat.
No.
Is it okay to say
I do say
cuss
whatever you
words?
like.
I shit you not. I shit you not. I fell on the other
I
side.
know.
Yeah, I have not seen a YouTube video like this. I'm a miracle, and here's why. I have a rule with motorcycles. I don't get on the motorcycle unless I have all my equipment. I enforce that rule with my wife. I've introduced her to riding motorcycles, and she loves it, and we have an awesome time. I broke my rule. And that day.
Oh.
and 300 meters down the road to my house, I have an accident, and I would have never guessed it. You would have seen something like this anywhere on the web. As you can imagine, this is grave enough as it is. When I break my rule, what I mean is I did not have more than shorts and a singlet that day. So this whole thing ties into, it took me a couple of days to realize it, but when I got up and I realized that I was completely fine, not one single scratch on my whole body,
Ooh.
I start getting very, very thankful. And I was not even mad. I wanted to kill the guy in the first instance, but I kept myself really cool, and I kept thinking that I had my whole body attached to itself. It was not dismembered. I did not slide into a curb. I was not run over by the other cars. I had nothing other than the experience of flipping over a car and trying to understand what had just happened, and a lot of people looking at me because nobody could understand
What the hell just happened? Shit.
So we have the conversation. The police comes over. The firemen come over. The motorcycle is a write-off. The whole thing. The summarized
Just
version.
for perspective, how fast were you going?
Oh, I was doing 50. So
Oh,
that whole experience was also a reinforcement of keep your safety inside the city. Don't go crazy. Which was obviously the police. They come over and they see a motorcycle involved. The default action is to believe somebody's doing
Dead.
wrong here.
Someone's doing.
So
especially a G6R, that's a
especially
douchebag
GSX-R.
bike.
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Very easy to judge me under that
absolutely,
light.
absolutely.
Oh, buff guy in singlet going on a GSX-R. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah,
He's the douche in this story.
yeah.
But the story and all the elements in it
Yeah,
just proved
yeah.
another thing altogether.
Wow.
The door was punched in enough that it was not a huge crash. The way that I flipped over the car instead of ramming into the window itself just explained how the speed was not a factor to the accident.
Yeah.
It also happened that the gentleman was very socially responsible, and he completely put his hand up and said he was fully responsible for not looking, for taking way too much time to cross the intersection, and it played out really well. So his insurance company took care of paying me out.
Yeah.
This whole thing was a fail in most evaluations, but here's where the intention comes in. Up until that point, I had been manifesting what a new motorcycle. I wanted a Ducati. I wanted a red hot fiery beast that was just about twice as powerful as the GSX-R.
Wow.
I had even looked at them. So that whole process was in motion. I had been looking at my vision board, which I kept on my phone, and every day I would do some manifestation around it. I had also manifested my health to be 100% all the time.
Wow.
Can you see how these two things tie together? So I was explaining how I had just been in the process of manifesting some new things. And the accident was funny because it became the universe's way of making it happen. Here's why. I had been manifesting a Ducati, a beast, which is just about twice as powerful as a GSX-R.
Oh, jeez.
And I had been asking for a new motorcycle to come in. I failed to specify how the old one would go out.
Okay.
So here I am on my phone every single day, 3 times a day, doing my manifesting. I want a new motorcycle. I want a new motorcycle. And What saved me in this whole thing was also manifesting my health to be at 100%, to be my body to be at a specific
Yeah.
part of
Yeah.
physical state and whatnot. So this whole having the accident and reprocessing it in my brain became okay. It would have been a fail, but it was cut halfway through, and in fact, it didn't get cut at all. This is the universe working towards me, right? So I asked for a new motorcycle, but I didn't ask how to get rid of the old one. Here's the funny part. Here's another funny part about that whole thing. It took me about 15 months to get the Gixxer approved into Australia, to get it in the country, shipped from Barcelona into Australia. It took me 15 months. It took a great amount of energy and belief that I could do it. And when it did come in, it ended up being in 2015. Okay, let's keep a little pin on this date. 2018 was when I had my accident. So when the insurance looked at the registry date of the motorcycle to pay me out, it ended up being that they paid me out the exact amount that I paid for it in Barcelona 8 years earlier.
Really?
It was that funny and that synchronistical that everything turned out in my favor.
Wow.
So the motorcycle was put out of the picture, so the new one could come in.
Wow. Plus all this money.
plus the money that yes, I had paid for it. And
because if you would have sold the bike, you would have got the value of that year.
Correct.
Is that what you said? Yeah, yeah.
And that was evaluated at 2,500 as per Suzuki. I had a conversation with Suzuki some time before. But look at the main elements in this whole manifestation process. I want a new bike. Okay, let's get rid of the old one. My body is 100%. I'm fully healthy. Okay, check that. Spin over the car, land on a squat, get up, and get paid out. No problem.
Dude, that is a miracle.
Delivered to you on a plate.
Jeez, I know that deserves a clap, right? That's amazing. And you left everyone that watched that like, what the
what the hell just happened? Yes, yeah. Absolutely.
That's incredible.
And everything turned out in my favor. From the gentleman basically accounting himself as fully responsible for what had happened, to the 4 witnesses that I had and came to me asking me if I wanted their details so they could retell the story to the police. Everybody corroborated the exact same version. Everything went like smooth as butter.
Wow. What a stand-up gentleman that person was, or woman.
Yes,
I don't know.
exactly.
Like that's amazing.
Yeah, he was too. Yeah, I have to give him credit. Absolutely. He was not very mindful of obviously jumping into the intersection and just taking forever to do the maneuver. But he did come through and he basically
I know like people that ride bikes, like I used to ride bikes too. We're so much more alert on the road.
Oh man!
Because you even hear a Harley or something coming, you hear
From
it
behind.
from a while back, and you're automatically alert.
Absolutely.
But people that don't ride, they're a bit oblivious to this thing.
I fully agree with you 300%. It's very different to grow up on a bicycle and then on a motorcycle and then a car than growing up. One day I get a driver's license, sit in a car in protected environment. I've got all these dead spots around me, as compared to having a visual awareness of the periphery and trying to keep all the senses alert to what's coming, what's going, what's changing lanes, and keeping obviously your physical integrity always on where you need it to be.
Yeah. Dude, that's amazing that you're here today as well. Like it's amazing that you survived that.
I am amazingly grateful for being the miracle and being watched over that day, because a lot of things could have changed. My life could have been ended right there, or something much bigger than what it turned out to be could have happened.
Have you ever done a front flip in your life?
Not
and landed on your feet? Well,
I did a few times.
Oh, so that would have come into practice too, for sure.
Well, interestingly enough, a lot of people, when I told them the story, just knowing me for being sort of the sportsy guy that I am, they said, your muscle memory just kicked in. You know this stuff. So it just sort of defaulted to that and made sure that you somehow landed in a not very difficult situation because everything could have gone wrong. I could have hit the car on the side and ricocheted and basically slid onto a curb, but so many things could have happened. And I've got all my skin, nothing happened. It was amazing.
When you landed, did you do like in the Olympics when they go like this? Okay, and then they bow and then they bow over there. Did you like 10?
I did not do that, but I did walk very calmly towards the car. And I say this because I actually have footage of what happened.
No.
This is the whole thing, right?
What?
I got up and somebody from the building across the accident walked right over to me and they understood the whole situation. If this guy tries to be a scumbag and deny that he did anything wrong, we have video. The building manager, you need to get in touch with the building manager that is taking care of this building here, because there's a bunch of cameras pointing to the road. And I did get in touch with the building manager and we did get some footage. However, Destiny wanted that because everything was so well taken care of, I actually did not need the footage to make proof of anything.
Yeah.
The cameras shot what happened right after I got up from the road. Because it was movement set. So it's programmed to film the path, the sidewalk, not necessarily the road. And by the time that something made it activate the recording system, I saw myself on camera, basically walking with my helmet on, taking my time, very calm, walking over to the car who had parked on the other side of the road. But again, it would have been useful to have that, and it was very useful that somebody read the situation really quickly and came to my aid, help, trying to build a case. Obviously, because everybody noticed that the gentleman was not very conscious when he made the decision to cross the road.
Wow,
it's really interesting how that whole thing
what
played
a story.
out. Man, it's
what a story.
It is a story. That whole week was a story, in fact. And this is where the pets tie in. My wife's long-loved black lab of 12 years. This whole week was a whole cycle, cleanup, end, beginning of the next one. So somebody in our circle of friends died. I had my accident. My wife had a major disappointment at work, but at the same time, she bought a new Mercedes, which was a reward to herself for doing so well in another business that she had. She's a very accomplished business person. And to cap it all off, Friday night, we're sitting on the couch and we're having mussels, of all things. We love seafood. And we were having mussels. We sat down to watch a video, and the dog kept going back and forth with a very noticeable bloated stomach. So we took the dog to an emergency at the vet hospital. The dog did not come back. This is apparently a very recurring issue with labs. Their guts get twisted, and opening them up and untwisting the bowels is not necessarily a guarantee that one, the dog will live, and two, that the quality of life will be the same. So we made the call that night that Oscar was going to rest, and that was just another freaky thing. That whole week, the space of 5 days, everything happened, and it was like, it depends on what you're looking at. If you're looking from this side, it's a fail. If you're looking from this side, it's the cleanup and the start of something new. And that was definitely the case for
some life lessons that week.
Oh yeah.
Wow. That's full on.
So that was the second fail that I wanted to share with you and everybody looking at this right now. Never take the fails for granted, just like you can't take successes, because successes are usually a result of something. It's the added compounded effect of a number of things that you've done, and you've reached it. But it doesn't need to be the defining moment. It doesn't need to be your identity. So don't let it. And always keep, as much as possible, ego out of the way. Keep yourself level, both in failure and in success.
Wow. Dude, that's a beautiful way to wrap all
Wrap
that
it up. Thank you very much.
That's beautiful. I hope you're not all crying at home.
It's been a huge pleasure. Thank you so much, Nick.
Dude,
I
the
really
the pleasure's
appreciate
all
it.
mine, man. The pleasure's all mine. Thanks for coming, man.
You're welcome. It's something that I want to do more often, and I'm looking forward to an opportunity to retribute the favor.
Yeah, dude, let's do it again.
Yeah,
I'd love to
why
have you
not?
back on. That's awesome. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank our camera op. You are amazing.
Thank you.
And thanks everyone for listening and watching. And yeah, we'll do this again.
Wow.